Nicole Strickland. I have been fascinated with the unknown and paranormal realms since childhood. After a profound experience with my grandmother's spirit 20 years ago, I have been on a quest to observe, study, investigate, and communicate with the afterlife and beyond. It's been an ongoing journey of exploration and discovery, one that has taught me how mortality and the spirit world are forever bonded through the veils of time.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Afterlife Chronicles right here, Thursday night, October 6th. October 6th. What? I mean, really? Okay, enough of that. So glad to be here, of course, on WLTK-DB.com. Of course, I am your host, Nicole Strickland, for another night of exploring the connection between life, death, and beyond. And before we get into tonight's show, just a couple of little recaps here. So the OC Paracon was amazing. A fast 2-day event. Those of you that do these cons know how they work. Fast-paced, exhausting, fun, met some new people, lots of great presenters, lots of great vendors. So it was a really exciting event, and I know we're all looking forward to next year as well. And then, of course, tomorrow night, Haunted Voices Radio, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 Central, 11 Eastern. Make sure to catch that with Todd and I as we interview Susan Catan Bernard from the Nevada State Prison. I know that she has a lot of amazing stories from there. Me being on the West Coast, I cannot believe that I have not been there yet. Hello, what is wrong with me? But we will do that soon. And then, of course, all of us here are so busy with October being paranormal researchers. So I have like 14 or 15 radio shows this month. So I better get, as Todd says, that hot milk with honey going, because if not, I will not have a voice. And then, of course, if you have not followed the show or WLTK-DB, please do that at its handle, WLTK-DB, of course, WLTK-DB.com, and, of course, the Afterlife Chronicles at Afterlife Chronicles and beyond. And then its Podbean page, afterlifechronicles.podbean.com. Those of you may know this already, some may not, that the station does have an app. So if you're an iPhone user or a Droid user, no problem. Go ahead and head on over there and get the station app, and you can listen to the shows right on there. I've tried it out. It works amazing. And then, of course, the station has some merch, so make sure to check that out on its website as well. I will soon be coming out with my own merch, slowly but surely, but soon in the next couple of months, maybe. Okay, so let's get in with it. So I'm obviously just going solo tonight, and I do like doing this from time to time. Now, this is an episode that I have been debating on doing for a while now, because it's something that I feel is very important. It's something very near and dear to my heart. And I know that it must seem odd that I'm bringing this up, being that I've been in the afterlife and paranormal research realms now for 20 years, and I haven't actually announced or come out, if you will, that I am psychically inclined, that I'm actually a psychic medium. But I'm going to preface that by saying we all are. Every single person on this planet has intuition. Every single person on this planet has psychic aptitudes. The difference is that some people are not aware of it, or they're choosing not to be aware of it, or they're not um, they haven't actually had the exposure to allow them to hone their skills. So that's where I'm at. I've always been this way, and it's something that I've kept kind of low profile and to myself for a reason, because I think it's something that it's a gift of the soul, so to speak. So it's something that's very innate for all of us, and it needs to be used appropriately and not to be exploited. And so for that reason, I've kind of taken care of it, and I haven't really come out and announced, hey, by the way, 20 years later, guess what? I'm a psychic medium. That's why. But we all are. And so the reason I've decided to do this episode is to share my story and the inspiration, and hopefully to inspire others, as it's been something that's grown. I haven't asked for it. I haven't consciously said every day, hey, I want to grow my psychic skills. It is just something that has developed. And I think what has developed that further has been just my growth as a human being, but also being involved in the paranormal and afterlife research fields and being exposed. The more you're out there investigating the paranormal, the more your different psychic aptitudes are going to develop, and that's how they've happened for me, and it's just something that has come naturally. And so I thought, why not do an episode in hopes of inspiring people? This is an evolutionary type of thing, and it's something I'm sure all of you or a lot of you can attest to the fact that, you've noticed your own innate skills getting stronger as the years go on, especially being involved in this field. So I wanted to touch base a little bit on intuition and psychic aptitudes. They are pretty much, very much connected. They're like peanut butter and jelly, fine wine and cheese. They go together. So when we have intuitive moments, and all of us have that, it's that hunch, that gut feeling that we get. So, whereas how I would define psychic skills is it's basically intuition that has been honed and developed with practice and exposure. So, a conscious state of intuition, whereas intuition is often like an unconscious. I guess it can be conscious, but it's more of like an unconscious gut feeling, whereas practicing psychic skills is a conscious use of that intuition. And in many ways, these psychic senses that we all have seem very supernatural because they aren't as refined and they're not talked about as much in everyday life, but they really are natural because we do all have them. So, intuition is basically that wisdom packed voice that acts as our emotional, our physical, and our spiritual survival compass, right? It's that divine knowing of what's best for us in any given moment in time. It's instant intelligence that operates separate from intellect and analysis. And according to transpersonal psychologists, I like this, Carl Jung, he says that intuition is an unconscious perception that accesses embedded processes and knowledge contained in the body and brain. So it's perception that surfaces from our higher selves, leading to those aha moments, those epiphanies, and a rush of awareness. It's a weird feeling when you get these sorts of feelings, whether it's like a very highly intuitive moment, or like, for example, a claircognizant type of event where you just know something that you have no idea how you know it, but you know it, or it's something that maybe hasn't happened yet. And I've tried to, for myself, concentrate on what that feels, because there's a different feeling when you get that as opposed to just other types of events that happen in everyday life. For me, it's a visceral feeling. And when these aha moments come, they come in very quickly, but they come in very strongly, and it's like you have that moment in time where you cannot deny it. It's just like this innate knowing, and it's a sense of alignment. When it comes in, everything aligns. You're right. You don't, like I said, you don't doubt it. It's that all knowing without at all doubting anything. And so there's this sense of, when I get it, when it comes through, it's a sense of like just this confidence and this exactness when you get it. And so it's hard to put in words, but that's kind of how I describe it. And a lot of times intuition will come through, with impressions or metaphors and symbols. And so it's important that we all learn to use it to achieve our goals, whether it's for health, whether it's for relationships, career choice. It's not done to exploit others. It's not done to read people's minds necessarily without their knowing, or use it for materialism, or any sort of greed or anything like that. So there are some exercises here that can help you hone intuition and psychic senses. Maybe we can get into those a little bit later, but again, they go hand in hand. So I wanted to give a couple of examples of kind of how they're different, although they're very similar. So intuition is, let's say you're driving on a crowded freeway or interstate, and you suddenly get the notion that you should exit because maybe there's an accident up the road that you're unaware of. And that accident, let's say, is 2 miles ahead of you. You get that, just that gut feeling to exit off the road. That's intuition. using and employing a psychic aptitude is, for example, you're on an investigation and you pick up, let's say, an antique and you want to employ psychometry. So you're holding that antique in your hand, attempting to feel any emotions associated with it. And so then you concentrate on that item until you pick up these various senses and impressions. That's an example of using a psychic aptitude. Intuition would be, let's say, another one is, let me think of one. Let's say you and your significant other want to go see a movie. However, you just have this strong inclination that maybe your favorite theater isn't playing that particular film. So you know what, let's choose another one. That's another example of intuition. Of course, psychic senses would be, again, on a, let's say someone's on a paranormal case study or an investigation, and someone enters the master bedroom of a premises, for example, and then all of a sudden this person gets images in his or her head that, where this person can see, okay, I'm seeing a woman here. She's dressed in a dress. She looks Victorian. I think she's residual. I don't think she's really intelligent, blah, 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 blah. She begins to see that in her mind's eye. That's an example of a psychic aptitude. And of course, we know the clairs, but I'll go through them really quickly. So clairvoyance is basically that. So that's being able to see images with your third eye. So if you're on cases and you get in your third eye, you get apparitional types of images in your third eye. That would be an example of clairvoyance. Clairaudience is basically, hearing through your psychic ears. Your real ears may not hear it, but you're hearing through your psychic ears, channeling what maybe a spirit may be saying. Clairgustance is interesting. I've actually never had this myself, or maybe I have and I just don't remember. That's psychically tasting something that is not physically present. You don't hear that too often. Same thing with clairalience, which is receiving these psychic senses via smell. So again, it's not a smell that's physically there. It's just something that your psychic senses are sensing. And then, of course, claircognizance, I think, and clairsentience are big ones. Claircognizance is having, like I said earlier, that all-knowing sense that something is real and you have no idea how you know it, but you know that you know it. It could be something that you're sensing that is going to happen before it even happens. And then, of course, clairsentience, we know, is feeling the emotions and senses, even from the living. People can go into a room, a crowded room, and be able to tell, okay, that person's upset, this person's happy, just know things about certain people, emotion wise and feeling wise. And so clairsentience is that, feeling emotions and senses from the living and those in the spirit realm. So I wanted to get into a few stories, and I do want to say that again, I want to reiterate that I'm doing this show to share the evolutionary process of me coming to terms with my own innate psychic skills, and not only that, but learning to accept it, because before I wasn't. Before I just didn't really I didn't pay attention to it as much. I didn't accept it as much. And now I'm learning that, hey, this is a part of me. This is a part of my soul. And I'm going to remind you that we all have it. I'm not doing this episode to try to say, hey, look at me. Guess what? I'm psychic. No, absolutely not. That's not what it should be used for. Using, whether it's your intuition or employing your psychic senses, it should be used to help those. It should be used with a pure, heartfelt, humble intent, not out of the ego, in my opinion. So, an example, an interesting a story of synchronicity right before this episode, and this is kind of, how sometimes the universe speaks to us via synchronicity. So right before the episode, I was just kind of chilling for a little bit, and I put on an episode of Family Guy, right? I love Family Guy. And so out of all the episodes that could be recommended in my YouTube, it was the one where Brian and Quagmire, for those, I'm sure most people know Family Guy, run against each other to become mayor of Quahog. And so there's a scene when the bus is falling off the cliff, and then Brian and Quagmire get out of the bus, and they're kind of hanging off a tree off the cliff. And then they see a character who had recently passed show up, and that character is Adam West in the show, and he shows up in spirit form to lend out his hand to help Brian and Quagmire. So that in my opinion, was like the universe telling me, wow, you're doing this show and this is totally, in sync. That is why I think we should employ any intuition and use our psychic aptitudes. It's not for any superficial or materialistic gain. It's to help others and really do good for the world, and really should be used with heartfelt humility, right? So, with that said, I see a few comments here. Let's see here. I'm going to flash these here. Of course, my mom's listening. Hello, mom. She says, "Hi, Nicole. Wonderful show. I'm convinced that your grandma, Lopinto, my mom, was aware of her intuition, which was difficult for her to live with at times. I feel good information." And then, of course, hi, Kelly. Kelly's flashing hearts. I love that. That's awesome. Kelly is an amazing numerologist, amazing psychic medium. So, if you really need a reading from someone who's really heartfelt and intent, with pure intent, please go to her for sure. She did a reading of me at the OC Paracon, and it was absolutely amazing and actually brought me to tears. So thank you, Kelly. So, and then, yes, I do want to say that I forgot to mention that. So, my mom's mom, Helen Lopinto, and a lot of you may remember the story of the experience I had with Helen's spirit when I was at the University of Arizona. I won't get into that now, but it was a very profound spiritual encounter with her. Shortly after she died, about a week after she died, my mom shared with me that that Helen said that when she was born with a veil over her head. So there was this really strong, intuitive, psychic line that went down the maternal side of the family. And so as a little girl, I was always aware of something, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And I don't know if any of you can recognize this, but those that I think are in touch with their intuition and in touch with their own psychic senses, do you almost feel at times that you're almost vibrating at a higher frequency? Not that you know more than other people, but it's just like you're on this different plane, that you're on this different level of frequency. It's hard to put in words, but sometimes I feel like that it's just I'm just vibrating at this different type of level. Hold on a second. Gotta have the water, right? So there are a lot of experiences. I don't have obviously time to get through all of them, but some that have been very profound that have suggested that for some reason, Nicole Strickland has always been in touch with in the intuitive side of her, right? And again, we all have it. So it goes back to when I was a little girl, and I had experiences with ghosts and spirits as far back as I can remember. I remember being born, actually. I remember, waking up in the OR, not the OR, the delivery room, and just remembering the blue tile. I remember the doctor's face. I remember, them talking. I remember, seeing everything and just being very, much aware of the room. And maybe all babies are, I don't know, but I remember that. And, again, as far back as I can remember, we're going to like 3, 4, or 5 years old, I had experiences, and at that age, you don't know exactly what they are, of course, but I had experiences now that when I look back, I can say, okay, well, obviously that was not an imaginary friend. I was absolutely communicating with someone from the beyond. One thing that I can remember very clearly, and I would go up to my mom, and here I was, like 3, 4 years old, and I would go up to my mom and I would say, "Mom, did you have a baby, and did he or she die?" And my mom would always say, "Nope, nope, you're the only one." I kept asking her that as the years went on. I just knew. I knew I had, and I believe I had 2 brothers. I knew I had, some sort of a sibling, of course, but as I've gotten older, I think I would have been the middle child, and I would have had a younger brother and an older brother. So when I was 21 years old, my mom actually did sit me down, and she shared with me that, yes, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this, but I'm going to anyways. I already did. She sat me down when I was about 21 years old, and she said that yes, she did have 2 abortions. So I believe they were 2 abortions. So I knew, I don't know if one was a miscarriage and one was an abortion, I don't know, but I do remember, so I was accurate going back as far back as I could remember. And so that's something I just knew. And so, just even throughout school, just little things, in, elementary, middle school, just things I would know. But as I would say in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, and I don't know why, I don't know if maybe age has something to do with it or just, being more open to the spiritual realm, but in the last 2 or 3 years, I've really started to recognize, the moments when I have this strong intuition or have these psychic senses, and they're getting stronger, and they're, getting more, prolific, I should say. And I think part of it is like what I said earlier, I think it's just something that I've learned to accept as a part of myself, and, I'm trying now I have this conscious look to grow it, to strengthen it. And so I think because of that, I'm more aware of these situations. So one instance that I and these are some stories just to give you examples. So one goes back to my grandfather's passing when I was 13 years old. So this is my mom's father. So his name was Andrew F. Lopinto, MD. He was a beloved, family practitioner, obstetrician here in San Diego. He had his own practice for like 50 some odd years. Sadly, he got Alzheimer's in his elder years. I mean, this man was brilliant. I mean, he was, of course, a doctor. He played the violin, he ice skated. I mean, just all around talented individual. And sadly, he got Alzheimer's in his elder years. And I remember the last few weeks of his life, my mom and I stayed, down at my grandma's house. So her house from where I am now is about 10 minutes away. If you're familiar with San Diego, I'm in Tierra Santa. They lived in Kensington, so you're looking at like 8 to 10 minute drive there. So we stayed at their house for the last few days, prior to his passing. And it was hard, even at 13 years old, to see the progression of Alzheimer's and how it affected him, going from just a general mild dementia to being bedridden and having to be cared for. This vibrant man just losing his mind was, even at 13 years old, very, very difficult to witness. So the night prior to his passing, so I went to bed, and this house was a pretty large home in Kensington. So I stayed in the upstairs bedroom where my mom and her sister used to sleep. And then there was like a rumpus room right next to it. So I was staying upstairs in, the bedroom. And so I woke up in the morning and I heard the sound of the garage door opening because the garage was right below me. I, at 13, sat up in bed, not knowing anything. I sat up in bed and said, "Oh my goodness, grandpa died. He passed, he died." So I went downstairs and I walked into the kitchen, and there sat my grandmother and my mom. I knew, just, of course, by the look on their faces, that's when they told me that, grandpa passed in the night. And so I was able to, at 13 years old, go back into the master bedroom, and he was laying very peacefully in bed, almost that rose scent that you sometimes smell when someone passes, very, very peaceful. I remember holding his hand, telling him how much I loved him. And, it was about an hour later, and I was on the staircase, and I saw, the paramedics or the coroners take him out on the stretcher, and it was very difficult for me to see that, with the cover over him, and I remember sobbing. But I that's an example, that I knew. I just knew, it's situations like that. Hi, Linda, nice to see you there. It's always nice to see you, Linda. Um Oh, my mom, I just saw this comment too. I didn't see this earlier, but she said here, "The doctor in the delivery room said to the nurse to turn the light off, and when she did, you were looking at all around the delivery room." And I remember that. I distinctly remember that, seeing blue tile and all of that. So sorry, I just now saw that comment. I'm sometimes like behind on comments. Let's see. There's another one that just came in, my goodness. Kelly, okay, she says, "Nicole is amazing. She has a wealth of knowledge and a kind heart. I am so loving hearing about your psychic mediumship experiences. You are so multi-talented and connected." Wow, and that makes me cry. Like, you have no idea, to hear that from someone with so many aptitudes. I mean, that means so much, Kelly. Likewise, you're amazing as well. Linda Myers here is another one that is an amazing, uh, humble, heartfelt person. So if you need another psychic medium to go to, she's definitely one. Just very, very, two very amazing, individuals here, as well, of course, as well as my mom, right? But my mom already knows that. So let's go on to another story here. Here I thought, oh, I'm going to finish at 45. Probably not going to get done, but these are just stories to share with you. And again, inspire because you may have similar stories like this. Another one that I have here has to do with so my dear friend Dawn Gaudette, she's given me permission to share this. She her actual her son, one of her sons, passed away, but gosh, I think it was July of 2012. Sadly, he choked and aspirated, and so of course became brain dead. I was able to spend some time at the hospital with the family a few days prior to his passing. I was there with them, big family, large family. They were all camped out in one of the rooms there. And it got to the point, and I got to go see him in the ICU and spend some time with him twice. And it got to the point where the family decided, it's time to let him go. So before that happened, I actually decided to, well, the family had gone back with him and they were going to transfer him from his ICU room to the actual room where they were going to allow him to transition. And so I needed to exit the waiting room just to go out into this little hallway area. And there was a wall there and it had a bulletin board with some pictures of the staff there. And I had to go out there just to decompress and just be with myself. And I remember going into the bathroom, shedding some tears. I remember just going out into the hallway there and just trying to decompress. And then I ended up actually at one point going back into the room to be with the family and all of that. My mom was there as well. And then all of a sudden, and if I'm trying to explain this waiting room, there was a door, but there were a lot of windows, so you could see from inside the waiting room to the hallway where where I explained where I was with the bulletin board with the staff and all of that. So you could see that hallway. And so I was sitting in a chair, and all of a sudden I just felt, oh my gosh, I think it's getting really close here. And so all of a sudden I saw, and it's very hard to describe, but it's almost like if you're looking at the sun, how bright that sun is. If you're going to stand outside and look at it, very bright, right? It was as bright as that beach ball sized orb that I saw come around the corner, kind of come toward the waiting room, dip down, and shoot right back up. And it was like moments later when it was announced that Kyle had transitioned. So I believe that perhaps I maybe saw his soul exit the body, if that's possible, leave the hospital. But it's again, I knew it was getting close, almost to the minute as to when it was going to happen. So that's another story there. Some other ones have to deal, and I don't understand this. I don't know why this is, but there seems to be strong intuition for me and psychic aptitudes having to do with missing people, specifically females. And I'm going to give you some scenarios here. Now, I'm going to not mention names just out of respect for surviving family members, but three of these occurred in San Diego. One of them occurred in 2002, a little 7-year-old girl. I'm sure a lot of you may know who I'm talking about. So she was missing for about a month, okay? And they could not find her. I was actually home sick with a cold in the afternoon on the day that she was found. So I was taking a nap and I had a dream. And again, I had no knowledge that they found her yet. And I was having a dream, and it was almost like when you have helicopter surveillance flying over an area. It was that aerial point of view in my dream. So I had a dream as like that, like as if I was the helicopter looking down. And in my dream, I saw the hills. I saw the area where she was found. There was one oak tree. There was a road that curved around, and then on the other side of the road, there was a body of water. So in my dream, I was seeing this, and I saw the remains down there in the dream. I woke up and I sat up in bed and I said, "Oh my goodness, they found her. They found her," not knowing. So I went downstairs, put on the TV to see if they did. I'd had no idea. Went downstairs, turned on the TV, and of course it said breaking news, body of a child found in the area. I'm going to keep the area confidential. Just obviously, if I release it, people will know. And I kid you not, in the news footage, the aerial footage of that the helicopter was showing was exactly what my dream was showing me. Okay, so that's one. Another one happened, gosh, I wanna say 2000. These 2 happened, close in proximity to to each other. 2 teenagers, females, they went to different schools, of course, North County, San Diego, around 2009. And so one of them, sadly, had been missing for about a year, give or take. And so, a week before she was found, I was talking with my mom, and I said, "Mom, she's going to be found north of," and I'm gonna not give the name of the casino because it would obviously give her away, "north of this specific casino. She's gonna be found 2 miles north of this specific casino. There's going to be, a windy road, and there's going to be an oak tree with a dirt road to the side of the oak tree. They're gonna go up that oak tree, and they will find her." 1 week later, her remains were found in an area matching that. And I also said to my mom, I also feel she was horribly stabbed. It ended up being that they found out, through coroner examination and whatnot, that she was sadly stabbed. So the other one, this was a situation that another tragic situation. This teenager was out running, and then sadly was abducted and sadly killed. And so they found her just a few days after. But I literally in my mind's eye saw her kind of laying about 4 or 5 feet under the surface, the soil. I saw like a damp soil near water, and sure enough, that's exactly where she was found, in that same area. And then let's see. I don't know if I should share this recent one because it would kind of give it away, but I'll share the circumstances around it. So this was a recent case, and one afternoon, it was about 2:30, because I actually it was a Sunday and I was actually making noodles. And so I remember looking at the clock, and I remember seeing that it was about 2:15. So then the noodles needed another 10 minutes to make, and then I had to strain them and all of that. So then by the time I got upstairs, I was watching a YouTube video, and it was about 2:30 when all of a sudden I got this sense, and I sat my noodles down, and I said to myself, "They found her. They found her. I know they found her." And so I got online, and I looked it up, and sure enough, nothing broke in yet. So I just continued to watch. It was a movie that I was watching, so I continued to watch a movie. And it was about an hour and a half later that I decided, let me go on and check again. Sure enough, I get on. They found her. Not only did they found her at exactly 2:30 when I sat my noodles down and said, "They found her." So, and I never really do this, but I had a connection with this case. And so I decided to write the family members a letter, just letting them know the inspiration that this specific individual had. There was just this strong connection, and I wanted to write a short letter, just letting the family know that, we're thinking of them and all of that. And so one morning I was driving to Starbucks, and I was, let's see, I went to Starbucks, and then I was on my way home, and then I was about 5 minutes away from my house. And I said to myself, the family just read my letter, just a hunch. And sure enough, when I got home, the little messenger icon came on my phone. And sure enough, a family member wrote me and said, and thanked me for the beautiful letter that I sent them. And it was literally like right at that time when I felt that they read the letter. So these are all just examples, and you may have these as well. And it's something that I used to just not really pay attention to. I almost used to get kind of weirded out by it, but it's something that I've learned to accept and love about myself, and you should as well. Another one too that I forgot to mention is, well, actually two of them actually. It had to do with September 11th. So my mom and I used to travel to New York City all the time every summer. Every single summer we used to go to New York City and just, go see the musicals and go shopping and things like that. And we would always go down to the World Trade Center. We would eat on Windows on the World. We would shop down there. There was a shopping center down at the bottom there. We would always do that. So this was July of 2001, so 2 months prior to 9/11. And so on one of our day, we were there about maybe 5 or 6 days. We decided to take one of the ferries across to the New Jersey side just so we can just sit on the benches and look at the skyline. And so we were there just enjoying the skyline when all of a sudden I looked at my mom and I said, "Mom, what would happen if a plane hit one of the buildings?" I'm not saying I had a premonition. I'm not saying any of that. I just had that inkling to ask that question. I have no idea why. And then not only that, on that trip, my mom and I did not desire to go down to the World Trade Center, and that was usually like a hot spot for us. We would always go down there. And this specific trip, we just decided not to go. It was just kind of like a weird, odd feeling. And then, of course, 2 months later, 9/11 happened. So again, I'm not saying that was a premonition or anything. I just find it funny that I asked that question. Jackie's here. Hello, Jackie. Nice to see you. Let's see what else. Let's see. Weather patterns too. I'm sure a lot of you have this as well. Some of you, I call myself a human barometer. I know when it's going to rain. Sometimes I can know when earthquakes will happen, and I think many of us have that. It's just kind of being in tune, I guess, with the environment and things like that. But these are some examples of what can happen. And I've noticed too on investigations, the clairvoyant side, specifically the clairvoyant side and the clairaudient side and the clairsentient side, for me, are getting stronger, a lot stronger. And it's something that I just have to pay attention to. For example, going into places and getting, let's say, a headache, or maybe getting a ping in your chest and finding out that maybe someone there died from a wound to the head, or maybe died from a wound to the chest. So things like that. So I have many more stories, but those are just some that are very, very profound for me. And I just want to reiterate too that, and I don't mean to be negative here. I'm just trying to get this off my chest. I think investigating and exploring the paranormal and afterlife realms is a very beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and there's a lot of responsibility for it. It's not just being responsible to ourselves, to our fellow teammates, to the locations and our clients, but of course to the spirits. It pains me that there's a lot of this superficial materialism, almost this Hollywood-esque type of temperament now circulating in the paranormal. I don't do what I do for that. I do what I do out of a passion to study the unknown and to communicate with spiritual energies. And so it pains me to see a lot of this superficial type of mentality going on, where we're treating spiritual energies as though they're there for our amusement, like we're there to go see a show, or we're there to go see a circus show. That's not what it's all about. There is a deeper meaning behind doing this work, and I think some people don't realize that and are in this field for the wrong reasons. I don't mean to criticize. I don't. To each their own, but that's just my opinion on it all, and I wish that would change. That's one of the thorns in my side that I and many others have to contend with. And it's something that, I'm not going to quit this field because of it, but it's something, it's like nails on a chalkboard. If people are in this field because they want, and they're concentrating on the number of followers they have, or how many TV shows they're on, or superficial reasons, I feel sorry for them. I really do. And that's what I'll say. And if I lose friends, if I lose If people don't want to talk to me anymore after that, so be it. Because you know what? There's a good feeling to be a spiritual advocate, not just an advocate for the field itself, but an advocate for those that we study and for those that we communicate with. Because when you go into a location, you never know if you're going to be communicating with someone's grandma or someone's deceased brother that maybe committed suicide. You don't know. So it's important to treat every case you go on, every entity with that respect and reverence, and I'm just not seeing that as much as I would like. So enough on that. I wanted to I might end a little early, and that's fine. I wasn't sure if I was gonna do a full an hour tonight. Let's see here. Oh, I'm gonna flash this, but thank you, Mom. She says you have a beautiful heart, Nicole. I love you dearly. Okay, Mom, enough of the mushiness, but thank you very much. Let's see. I wanted to kind of go back into let's see here. So a couple of exercises for those that want to I guess uh kind of hone their intuition, balance the chakras, things like that. Gosh, I need water. My goodness. So I wanted to I'm missing on something here. Hold on a second. Oh my goodness. And it was in my notes here. Oh, but there it is. Okay, there's a couple here that I wanted to just go through that have really helped me. So if you're wanting to, and I'm of course I'm no expert. My goodness. I'm a student of life. I'm a student of this field, right? We're always learning, we're always evolving. But these are some exercises that I've come across that have helped me. And so one of them, if you want to strengthen your intuition, is to do this. So as you go about your daily routine, pay attention, maybe keep a journal of your gut feelings and hunches when they occur. And so it's very easy for the mind to try to overanalyze what's going on. So try not to do that. Examine kind of more what your heart's feeling during these encounters, and more of what your emotions are feeling. So write your thoughts and feelings down associated with your intuitive voice and what exactly you were doing the moment that they came forward. And so take some private time to reflect on these experiences, but try not to intellectually scrutinize them, which is, I know, super, super hard to do. So pay attention, like I said, to what your heart is saying as opposed to your mind. So once you train yourself to do that, you will then start to get more aware of the intuitive side of you, if that makes sense. Another exercise that I've done is taking some time out each day to concentrate maybe on an emotional connection that you have with an object, maybe a place, a color, a piece of art, or a person, for example. So then take some time and meditate in plain solitude. Listen to your heart as opposed to the logical mind as to why you have that bond. So allow your inner emotions to flow, journal them down or voice them out loud, whatever is most important to you, and focus on the feelings and sensations that emanate from deep within when you're focusing on that. So, and another one too is get in a comfortable place, like a peaceful position, and close your eyes, concentrate on your breathing as you physically and mentally relax, and ask your mind and body to bring you a personal symbol to help grow your intuitive development, whatever that may be. Pay close attention to the specific symbol that it brings you and give permission for it to enter your mind. This may not happen right away. It may occur over the next several minutes. So take time with it. It's not something to rush. Stay with it. Stay with your relaxed mind as long as you need. And then when the time is right, slowly open your eyes as you become more aware of the present. So those are some little exercises that you can do. Of course, don't rush them. Do them, of course, in a meditative type state. And you'd be surprised. It's really helped me to do this every once in a while. And then another thing too, going really quickly, are the chakras. A lot of us already know about these, but I'm going to mention them briefly. So we have the red chakra, which is the root, the base or tailbone. It's associated with intuition and spatial awareness. And when balanced, you have security and you have confidence, right? You have the orange one, which is associated with your sacral pelvic area. That's associated with a lot of clairsentience. So when aligned, you might see your creative senses and a sense of wonder just flourish. You have hello, old yeller, right? I mean, hello, can I not talk right now? Yellow, excuse me. My goodness, I have gallons of water here, folks. Gallons of water. Okay, so we have the yellow one, which is our solar plexus. It's associated with sensitivity to vibrations from others, right? So when balanced, you will sense a more control more with your anger and your emotions and a sense of authority, a linkage to the world around you, basically. You have the green or the pink, which is the heart area, empathy towards others, unconditional love toward the world, balancing of emotions. You have the blue, which is in the throat, associated with telepathy and clear audience. So when balanced, you'll notice a clear perception of your ultimate purpose in life. So you'll be able to speak your mind a little bit more. And then you have the indigo / purple, which is your third eye. This is a big one associated with clairvoyance, regulates outbound and inbound thoughts and feelings. It impacts our dreams, imaginations, our wisdom, our intuition, differentiating between fantasy and reality. And of course, when it's aligned, you are aligned with your soul's true purpose there. And then, of course, we have the violet or white, which is our crown, associated with cosmic awareness. It's the spiritual epicenter, right? So you can connect with your guides, your angels, other beings, be at one with your higher self and universe. When balanced, you'll experience soul love, which leads to, of course, spiritual growth. So this is an exercise that I've done many times. And I mean, you can do this before an investigation. You can do this before any type of paranormal case study, investigation, any sort of even a seance, whatever, or just in general in your everyday life. So as we know, it's the infusion of white light, and everyone has different imagery with it. So whatever works well for you. What I do is I find a comfortable place, one that won't obviously cause any distractions. I imagine myself where I sit on a chair, and then I sit with my feet firmly pressing the floor, and you close your eyes. And so you concentrate on your breathing. So you slowly breathe in 8 seconds, slowly breathe out 8 seconds. Do this about 5 times until you feel completely grounded. So you pay attention to the air entering and exiting your lungs, and you imagine this divine energy and picture it infusing you, infusing your veins, infusing your capillaries and arteries as it expands to your other organs, right? So then you envision an opening at the top of your head, so your crown. And then almost what I do is I kind of picture like a waterfall, and I picture a stream. Instead of it being water, I picture it being a stream of white, pure energy washing down through the crown. And I imagine it swirling in my head for a few seconds. And then before I imagine it moving down. And so you're going to imagine this white, pure light moving down your body, down the chakras, swirling within your body as you ask the divine pure energy to come in, and then pushing out all unwanted energy that is not welcome. During this time, you want to take note of your physical, emotional, and spiritual sensations. Write them down if you want to, whatever works well for you. Again, don't rush this. Take your time with this. It's almost like, clearing a clogged toilet, if you will, at the start of your head, all the way through your body, all the way out through the bottom of your feet. And so when you get down to the feet, imagine that unwanted energy that does not serve your purpose in the highest good. Imagine that leaving from the bottom of your feet, dispersing out into the ground. And that's it. And so then you sit for a few seconds while envisioning that white, pure light swirling your body. And then imagine it clearing. Imagine your entire body just being infused with all of that white, pure light. So then after a while, what I do, I'll say, I welcome all that is divine and all that is pure into my life. I love myself unconditionally. I am one with the universe. And then when I'm done, I mean, it's a sense of just complete peace, complete grounding. It's really an amazing feeling. And some people are quicker at it than others. Some people will do this in just a couple of minutes. Others may want to take more time. I guess if you do it for the first time, you might want to take more time, but as you get familiar with it, just kind of go at your own pace with that. So just a couple of little exercises that have really, really helped me. And again, oh my gosh, we have a long comment here. Let's see here. I just saw this. Let me read it. Okay, totally true with how dreams or spirit can let us know what is going on with the news, family and friends beyond. Only I've had it happen once, but I can relate with your experience of dreaming something that happened in the news. I was thrown into the experience and my senses were lit up with the occurrence, feeling what the people were experiencing physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's important to talk about these things. The time I did it was 15 years ago and no one believed me, but it was, let's see, where am I at here? Is that it? I think that's it. I'm not seeing the rest of it. But and that's just it. I did not do this episode to try to be like, hey, look at me, everyone. I'm psychic. Yay. That's not, obviously, you know that by now. I'm doing this to share that this is something that is within all of us. This is something that everyone has. Everyone has intuition. Everyone has the ability to have these amazing psychic aptitudes. Imagine the world if all of us tapped into it, right? And I think we are going through a period of ascension. I think the whole, and I've talked about this before with others, the whole COVID pandemic, for example, is almost a universal way to try to get us to ascend. We're in that period where people are wanting to be in touch with themselves, with their soul, with the universe, with the greater beyond. And so we are doing that. And so that's another reason why I wanted to do this episode. I have kept this quiet a lot, and those that work with me closely know that I use my intuition on paranormal case studies. I'm actually more of an intuitive psychic investigator than I am anything else. But it's time. It's time. I was actually talking with Peter Orbea about this at the conference. And one of the reasons why I didn't, talk about this sooner is I was afraid, like, well, gosh, it seems so odd. Like, she's in this field 20 years and then all of a sudden she's talking about being psychic, right? It does. It seems very odd, but the time is right for everything. And so this is an evolutionary process in my life. And so I felt it was time for me to share what it means to me. There is a deeper meaning behind why I do this work and why I connect with the spiritual realm. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's not something to be exploited. It's not something to be taken lightly. There's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. And so that's something that, I'm learning. And once you become more aware of it and you become more accustomed to it and you accept that, the sky's the limit. You will start seeing more signs. Your experiences will get stronger, clearer. And that's basically what's happening to me. So I guess that's about it. I'm sure I've probably forgot to mention some other things, but there you have it. So, and again, I hope that this can inspire other people to, if they're shy and they have these experiences and they don't know how to talk about it, I hope that this has inspired you to feel okay to share it and unite with others with the like-minded objectives with investigating the paranormal and afterlife and communicating with the spirits. So that's about it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope it didn't sound weird at all. I tried to do this, literally speak from my heart. This has literally been me speaking from my heart. And I hope it was taken as that. Linda, this will make me cry here. Linda said, "You are an amazing, gifted, caring, sharing woman. Thank you so much for stepping out there and sharing your life with us." Thank you, Linda. That means so much. Likewise. And then Ellie said, let's see here. "Thank you for sharing, Nicole. You are so welcome." And again, I've said this 1,000 times, but I hope it can inspire others and inspire us to all collectively work toward the goal of understanding the paranormal, maybe not being able to explain it or solve it, but the desire to seek the truth and communicate with the beyond and even other types of beings and entities out there. So hopefully that's inspired you. Let's see. Thank you, Facebook user here. So important to talk about. Let's see here. Thank you for sharing, of course. Again, I hope that this, wasn't taken the wrong way. Again, it's been from my heart, and hopefully you can take something from it. Let's see here, a few more minutes here, and then I better end because we do have I think there's, I don't know if Kenneth Drake has a show after tonight. I'm not sure if he does because I know he's been busy at conferences, but let's see. So tomorrow night, if you're available, Todd and I will be talking to Susan Catan Bernard about her experiences and stories at the Nevada State Prison, guys. How fun is that? So that's tomorrow night, 8 p.m., 11 Eastern. Let's see. Next week, I have Dale Kaczmarek of the Ghost Research Society. As you all know, I'm part of that team as well. I'm the California coordinator for that team. So he's been on before. He'll be sharing some audio clips, of course, and some stories from their recent investigations. And then the upcoming, I believe it's Sunday, October 16th, the upcoming, I think it's the Midwest Spirit Fest there. So he'll be on to talk about that. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend coming up, and be safe, be happy, enjoy the weekend, and we will catch you next week. All right. Good night, guys.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.